It's all about kush greens, yeah. They talk about good weed, yeah. Herbalist get in for your need, yeah. Jamaica Ganja podcast, watch fast. Tune into kush greens. They talk about good weed. Nah, we don't smoke bush weed. Learn more about the herbs when you listen to kush greens.
Greetings everyone, welcome to Kush Queen's J.A. Ganja podcast. My name is Kagi Kush Queen.
And I'm Suni the Alchemist.
And so today we are going to be talking about the history of ganja in Jamaica for our very first episode.
Yes, so we'd like to know, where this relationship came from with Jamaica and Ganja, Was Ganja always grown here? Was it indigenous to the land? Did Christopher Columbus come find it as well as the Indians here? Or was it brought here like how breadfruit or ackee was brought here during the transatlantic slave trade? So the research is there that tells you about two ways that the plant came to Jamaica. So one of the ways that the plant came to Jamaica was after the ending of slavery in 1838.
Right, so after the ending of slavery in 1838 comes a time of indentureship, and so that time brought forth the Indians and the Chinese to Jamaica. And so the Indians brought some seeds with them while they were coming to Jamaica, and they started cultivating ganja here.
Really? So ganja important to the Indians? Why they had to carry it with them?
I mean, yes, because I am going to a new country. I use this herb or as this plant as a part of my religious practices or as a part of my medicinal purposes.
So it's an essential.
It's an essential. Like me walk with my goods, me go to a new country. I don't know if this place have my herb when I want to might as well walk with my essentials.
True. Them walk with them essentials because it was very important to them as a religious practice, just like how they would have walked with the curry and cumin, because that's how it came here as well. So let's talk about the word ganja. I mean, the word ganja sounds very patois. It sounds like it comes from out of a natural vernacular. You understand? Mm-hmm. But is the word patois? Because we can mess up words, and for all we know, ganja could have named ganja, and Jamaica will take off ER and put on the A. So you end up with ganja. There you go. And you end up with ganja. But is the word ganja patois? Or was it brought here like how the seeds were brought here?
Very interesting question. Yeah. So, the Indians actually, the word ganja is coming from ancient Sanskrit ganja. So,
what does it mean?
Ganja means hemp or hemp resin.
Okay, so it's a high-grade herb.
It's a high-grade herb, but ganja. So it was also stated, literature stated that, Lord Shiva himself pulled that herb from out of his body. So it is very essential to the
most sacred.
Most sacred. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, with that said, the word in ganja is Indian. We're telling you that it's not patois. And the same word that is called Kali is also
an ancient Sanskrit word from the Hindu language and the Hindu religion. But probably there's a third way that we don't know about, because in literature stated that ancient China has been using ganja as a part of their medicinal purposes too. But in the time of indentureship, the Chinese came here too. So who knew if they even brought ganja? It was stated that the Indians brought it here, and even some of the where we consume ganja, such as the hookah and the pipe and the chalice. Those are ancient Indian practices for their religious practices with their Lord Shiva.
True. So there's a lot to learn. So, alright, so ganja came that way to Jamaica. The indentured Indians planted it. But how did it get introduced to the ones who were here already, which were the freed slaves?
So, when the Indians and the Chinese came here, the Indians actually were living amongst the black people or African ancestors, they were living amongst them in the poor community, as they would say. And so even though the Indians brought it here because it was a part of their religious practice and their medicinal purposes, they share the herb with Jamaicans. And as you know, our ancestors back in the day, they just never said no to anything. They were more open because they were all about love. So
Truly.
the Indians showed the Jamaicans,
The freed
slaves, how to use this herb or to cultivate this herb. And so that's one tradition that has not been broken since, like,
The
introduction of Jamaica and Ganja and Jamaica. Like, even though it was illegal and all that, we still carry on that tradition, and it's one tradition that will not be broken.
Truly, which is good, you know. So with that said, there's also the other part of which it is said that ganja came to Jamaica, introduced to the Western Hemisphere through trading. So the European continent was trading heavily with the Asian continent, mainly the Chinese and the Indians, through the Marco Polo era. So one of the things that led to this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere, being discovered was because there was a race to see who first could reach the East quicker than who. Is what I say? Because it's always a race when it comes to capitalism, who first and who has more of.
So we want to know who came first.
Well, naturally, as you know, it is said that it was the Spaniards through Christopher Columbus, and they were the ones that first sailed this side as a bokok, because he was looking for the East Indies and he ended up here, and because he ended up here and seeing Indians, he called it the West Indies. But anyways, with that story said, the Portuguese had, so because of the slave trade now, different European countries had different colonies in the Caribbean and this part of the world, the Western region, which included America, Canada, and South America. So one of the places that were captured in South America was Brazil. And it was captured by the Portuguese. They had colonized it, as they called it. And they had brought ganja to the West, trying to plant it in Brazil. Now, ganja they brought was from India as well, because there was heavy trading with the East
and the West.
And Europe.
The East and Europe.
Right.
Sorry.
So, the British also got a hold of the plant because them go down to India, them see how the plant, people worship the plant and how they've tried it. You know them ever tried it. And because they saw how beneficial the plant was to, especially giving you this calm, nice nerve and make you just go and do what you have to do, especially the sativa, you know. And when they brought that, so they tried bringing it here. They brought it here and they planted it on the plantation. And like in terms of cash-wise, cash crop, it wasn't benefiting them in terms of capital. But it was benefiting them in terms of how it was affecting the slaves and how the slaves were working on the plantation. So the slaves now were the ones that they were planting it for, so them could use it and them could do them work and less rebellion, That is one way of how they said that it was brought here. So when the Indians came, during indentured labor period, during indentureship, they came here and they saw ganja planting too, as well as they bring in ganja here. But in terms of the spirituality of ganja, I do think that it was introduced to us from the Indian side in terms of what it's used for in that type of way and the medicine. And as you said, we've never let go off of that tradition at all. And so, you know, Jamaicans, when we take things, we take it over. So we take over ganja, and ganja became ours, you know.
And then it became a mainstay in Jamaica when the formation of Rastafari began.
So the Rastafari movement of the 1930s brought about a renewal and a more strengthened look on the benefits and uses of ganja. right? So the Rastafari movement was always about ganja and the spiritual benefits that ganja have always had. And then we knew about and we always talked about the medicinal benefit, because Rastafari knows that ganja benefits asthmatic patients, benefit people who are going through chemotherapy, HIV patients. It know how you balance it helped to balance the eating habits. It know the different effects that it had. And so the Rastafari movement, not because they didn't have the science behind it, but they knew the benefit of this plant. And because they have been always the ones to be talking about the benefits, you know, it has always been the flag bearer for ganja around the world. Because if you go anywhere and talk about ganja,
Jamaica, and so, you know, ganja has been one religion, one tradition that has not been broken ever since Jamaica formed its relationship with ganja.
Right. And so now we're in the 21st century. There is a lot of scientific research into ganja, and Jamaica is growing. Jamaica is very intriguing anytime it comes to ganja, and because of how we treat ganja. Majority of the people, they love ganja, they respect ganja. You still have people who think about ganja as a drug in a bad way. We are not about convincing people. We are really about providing you with knowledge and sharing with you the benefits that ganja has.
The usage of ganja. It's right, because, you know, science has backed up all what Rastafari has been saying about the medicinal aspect, you know, with the treatment of cancer, the treatment of menstrual cramp. And you know that Queen Victoria, her physician used to prescribe cannabis ganja for her, for her menstrual cramps.
Right, so it has been using for centuries. And that is as a result of the trading that they had with even the Chinese.
Right.
So that's where they learned all of that medicinal benefit as well. So reach up to now, ganja is still Jamaica, almost synonymous with Jamaica. When you call ganja, it is Jamaican, it is brand Jamaica. Even though, as we just tell you,
it was coming from East India.
So yes, that's pretty much the history of Jamaica and ganja. In a nutshell, there is much more
to come, and we will definitely provide you with more information to come in further episodes. So now that we know where ganja and Jamaica is coming from, or the relationship is formed, you know, it is time for us to start sharing our knowledge with each other so that we can put Jamaica further, or where it needs to be on the market for ganja and in the ganja industry.
Truly, I mean, yeah, sharing is caring. Now, we're not talking about sharing your trade secrets, but just information, just general information that can benefit each other, that can benefit small growers. And we would like to see the CLA move forward in some of the plans that they have, so that more people can benefit from it and more spiritual sacramental license can be granted, because we do have Rastafari people who have been farming for a long time who are not getting this benefit, and they are the ones that have been the flag bearers for ganja and the benefits of ganja, like it or not.
Right, so they have been preserving the tradition ever since, even when it became illegal, you know. So we do give thanks for that, and we also want to give thanks to the indentured laborers, the Indians, who came and brought it here and preserved that tradition. Also, that said, you know, we are looking forward to working together as a community and as a whole to put forward the information and to ganja and Jamaica out there to the world.
So thanks for joining. I'm Sunil the Alchemist.
And I am Push Queen Kavi. See you in our next episode.
It's all about Kush Queens, yeah. They talk about good weed, yeah. Herbalist get in for your need, yeah. Jamaica Ganja, podcast watch fast. Tune me into Kush Queens. They talk about good weed. Nah, we don't smoke bush weed. Learn more about the herbs when you listen to Kush Queens.